I Am a Virus, Chapter 1, Lockdown Diary. 1. January 23, 2020, the city goes bare. Now, in the early hours of February 10, 2020, I finally sit down at my computer. The sleepless night of February 6, coupled with a cascade of horrific scenes and bad news afterward, left me consumed by anger and grief, unable to gather my thoughts for days. Today, now 19 days since the sudden lockdown of Wuhan on January 23, I feel a sense of shame for my numbness and detachment over the past 2 weeks. No more delays, I must begin. My home is only 3.1 kilometers from the so-called outbreak epicenter, the Wuhan seafood market, placing me in the direct path of this disaster. Despite the relentless spread of the virus over the past 2 weeks, I felt relatively safe on my own at home, even silently thanking my tendency to live as a bit of a homebody. In fact, I had left Wuhan at the end of December 2019 to celebrate the New Year in Japan, completely unaware of any outbreak back home. When I returned on January 14, Wuhan was already seeing a rapid spread of the virus, though official sources had yet to issue any severe warnings. Aside from one brief meeting outside, I stayed largely indoors out of habit. My last visit with friends was on January 19, when I chose to avoid the metro and take a taxi while wearing a mask, alerted by a friend who hinted that the outbreak might be worse than authorities admitted. Given my experiences with the government, I had little doubt they would downplay the truth. Originally, I had flights scheduled for January 23 to Japan, with plans to return in early February. Over the past several years, I hadn't spent a single Lunar New Year in Wuhan, preferring to travel abroad. As my flight was in the evening, I hadn't even packed, thinking I could leisurely get ready that day. Rumors of a potential lockdown had been circulating, but I dismissed them as absurd at most. I figured airport health checks would be strict. I felt healthy and confident I'd have no issues. But at around 7 a.m. on the 23rd, an alert on my phone notified me that my flight had been cancelled. Shocked, I thought, this can't be real. They actually locked down the city. Such scenes only happen in novels and movies. Why today? Why not tomorrow? Humans are so self-centered. Besides, hadn't there been a mass gathering at Baybuilding just days earlier, with tens of thousands of people sharing a communal feast? Even on the 21st, 9 out of 10 pedestrians on the street hadn't been wearing masks. How could things deteriorate so drastically overnight? Wuhan, a metropolis of over 10 million, abruptly shut down. Every Lunar New Year, millions of residents travel for the holiday. Wuhan's mayor stated that around 5 million residents left before the lockdown, but in reality, the sudden closure trapped about 2 million of us in the city, including myself. The remaining 3 million had left before the 22nd, unaware of the growing outbreak. The government's drastic measures did make me feel cautiously optimistic. With such severe lockdown orders and with people masking up and staying indoors, I thought we might be able to lift the lockdown in 2 to 3 weeks. After all, locking down a city of 10 million would only intensify fear and anxiety, leading to unpredictable outcomes. But in the days that followed, the situation took a rapid and horrifying turn. Daily reports of new cases kept rising, but these figures were clearly misleading. Social media was inundated with desperate cries for help. Every hospital was overflowing with patients, with lines snaking outside for hundreds of meters in the freezing cold. It dawned on me that, until January 20th, the public had been told that the virus had limited human-to-human transmission and a low fatality rate. The reality was that it was highly contagious and could spread even from asymptomatic carriers. Revisiting the images of masked and unmasked pedestrians before the lockdown, I began to feel a creeping sense of panic. For over a month, the entire population of Wuhan had essentially been running bare under the shadow of this virus. The real number of infected could easily be multiple times the official figures, perhaps even tens of times more. I started cautiously reaching out to colleagues, friends, and family, checking for any sign of illness. I traced my recent movements, realizing how lucky I was to have missed that flight. What if there had been an asymptomatic carrier on board, or worse, if I myself were one? February 10, 2020.